Why will public ledgers, not private chains, win?
Yeah, I think that there's actually a really simple answer to that. And it comes down to the coordination problem, right? So if you have a private ledger, it doesn't really matter how open you are to people coming and using it. There's always going to be some barrier, and there's always going to be some competition. Let's say that the Chinese government builds their own blockchain. Do you not think that America choosing to use that blockchain is going to be a political issue? If the UK builds its own blockchain, is that not going to be a political issue for multiple countries around the world that have a problem with the UK? Of course it is. The only way in which you can truly build a piece of global infrastructure is that it is as neutral as possible. It has to be somewhere that's entirely neutral. And the only way to make something, or the best way to make something as neutral as possible, is to make it completely open and permissionless. And so as soon as you make it open and permissionless, there is no gatekeeper. You don't have to ask permission to come and join the network. You don't have to ask permission to come and build stuff on the network. And you don't have to ask permission to leave the network. And what is more important is no one entity has control over that network to be able to bend it towards its will. And this was the very principle in which public ledgers were built in the first place, and what Bitcoin was built on. Any time that you have the possibility of competition between companies or nation states, you have an increasingly large coordination problem to solve. The internet is a great example of a almost completely neutral platform on which people can come and build. TCP/IP, the very basis of it is this open protocol that anyone can use to communicate with any other server around the world. And I know that there are people who are going to debate with me as to how neutral the internet is, but that's the underlying principle of why public ledgers are so critical. If you're going to build a critically important piece of global infrastructure which every single person in the world can rely, you have to start with the principle that it must be as permissionless and easy to access as possible for every single person. And ultimately, that's why public ledgers are going to win. But there is one more point to that. Public ledgers also give you the best opportunity for things to be able to work together. So if I create an application, you create an application in the same ledger, then those applications can be work together. The assets that exist in that platform can be moved seamlessly between those applications. And that's also your network effects on top of public ledgers. It's not just the number of users that are using the network, but the number of applications that interoperate and the number of assets that interoperate between those applications. And again, coordination problem. It's much easier to achieve that on a public permissionless ledger than it is on any kind of permission ledger.